1954. A kitchen in Ohio. Saturday night. The linoleum is cool under bare feet and the whole house smells faintly of starch, soap, and supper dishes drying in the rack. A single bulb burns above the sink. On the counter sit a chipped enamel pitcher, a bottle of Heinz vinegar, a box of cornstarch, a wooden brush with real bristles, and a little tin of bobby pins with the lid bent at one corner. A mother stands behind her daughter, parting damp hair with the tail of a comb. No wall of products, no glowing hot tool, no bottle promising repair for damage. Another bottle caused, and still by morning that hair will shine. These are 10 vanished hair tricks from the 1950s every woman should know. They were common, they were cheap, they were practiced in kitchens and bedrooms all over America, and they worked so well that the modern beauty industry had to replace them with products, routines, and problems of its own invention. Before we begin, if the smell of Heinz vinegar or the click of a bobby pin tin means anything to you, subscribe now. What comes next is not just a list, it is a room you have already stood in. Number 10. The once-a-week wash. Women in the 1950s did not wash their hair every morning. Most washed it once a week. Some stretched it longer if the set was holding and the scalp was calm. Saturday night was bath night in many homes because hot water had to be heated, carried, and used wisely. Hair was washed then. A single lather worked through with the fingers. Warm water first, then a cool rinse that made the whole scalp wake up. If the hair squidged between the fingers, it was clean. That was the test, not fragrance, not foam, not what the label claimed, the hair itself told you. And hair behaved differently because of it. It held a set for days. It did not get stripped every morning and then forced to overproduce oil by afternoon. Today, a woman can spend $40 a month on shampoos, conditioners, masks, and scalp treatments. In 1954, a bottle of Prel cost about 35 cents, and one wash a week was enough. Number 9. Rag curls from torn bed sheets. Old cotton sheets never went to waste. Before they became dust cloths, they became curls. Mothers tore them into strips and rolled damp sections of hair around each rag, winding from the ends up toward the scalp and tying a soft knot that would hold through the night. The cloth was gentle, softer than rollers, softer than pins. A child could sleep in rag curls with only the slightest tug each time she turned her head on the pillow. By morning, the knots came loose and the curls fell in ribbons, springy, shiny, full of bounce. You can almost see it. A little girl in flannel pajamas, sitting on a kitchen chair while her mother's hands move quickly in the yellow light, tearing, wrapping, tying, smoothing each section with her thumb. Today, women buy heatless curl kits for $25 and curling irons for $80. In 1955, the prettiest curls on the block came from a worn sheet that cost nothing at all. Number 8. The vinegar final rinse. A glass bottle of apple cider vinegar belonged in the kitchen, but plenty of women knew it belonged in the hair too. After washing, they stirred a splash of vinegar into warm water and poured it slowly over the head as the final rinse. The smell was sharp for a moment, clean and sour in the steam, and then it vanished. What stayed was the shine. Soap residue lifted, hard water dullness disappeared. The cuticle settled flat and the hair caught the lightly polished wood. There was no dramatic reveal, just a woman leaning over the sink, a towel over one shoulder, the cool trickle running down the back of her neck, then looking up into the mirror and seeing her own hair look alive again. That was enough. Today, glossing rinses and shine treatments can cost $18 to $40 a bottle. In 1954, Heinz vinegar was about 23 cents, and it did the same job from a pantry shelf. Number 7. Sugar water setting lotion. Before styling mousse, before setting foam, before humidity sprays in tall cans, there was sugar water. A teaspoon or two of white sugar dissolved in boiled water, left to cool, then poured into a little bottle and dabbed onto sections of hair before pin curls or rollers. It felt slightly tacky on the fingertips. It dried invisible, and it held a curl like a promise. A woman would sit at her vanity, brushing one damp section smooth, touching her fingers to the sugar water, then winding the hair into place with slow, practiced movements. By morning, The set held through church, errands, the grocery, the humidity of a July afternoon, and supper still cooking on the stove. This is the part people forget. These women were not surrounded by products, so they had to be surrounded by knowledge. They knew what could be made, what could be stretched, what could be trusted. And somewhere in the middle of all that thrift was a mother teaching a daughter without ever calling it a lesson. Number 6. Cornstarch at the roots. By day 4 or day 5 after washing, the roots might begin to flatten. Not badly, just enough to show. So women reached for the cornstarch, a light dusting along the part line at the temples behind the ears, a faint white cloud in the bathroom light. A minute or two to let it sit. Then the boar bristle brush drawing the powder and oil together from root to end until the residue disappeared and the hair looked fresh again. The smell of clean powder mixing with warm hair. The slight grit of it between the fingertips before the brush swept it all away. The sound of that brushing was its own kind of reassurance. Long, steady strokes. The soft drag of bristles through dry hair. The miracle of a style revived without water, without stripping, without starting over. Today, dry shampoo is a $12 to $18 aerosol can. In 1956, a box of cornstarch cost pennies and sat in the same kitchen that made gravy. Number 5. Egg shampoo. 2 eggs cracked into a cup and beaten with a fork until the yolks ran smooth. That was the shampoo. Women worked it to damp hair with cool hands, massaging it into the scalp, feeling the slippery weight of it spread from root to ends. Never hot water. Never. Hot water would cook it, so the rinse was lukewarm, patient, careful, and when it was done, the hair felt heavy in the best way. Soft, clean, dense, almost silky between the fingers. It sounds strange now only because modern life taught women to trust a bottle more than a kitchen ingredient. But the women who used egg shampoo were not guessing. They were watching what happened in the mirror and under the comb. A mother once warned her daughter, "Hold still and don't let the water get too warm," and the girl remembered that sentence for the rest of her life. Today, a protein strengthening shampoo can cost $18 or more. In 1952, 2 eggs cost only a few cents and clean the hair just the same. Number 4. Beer rinse for shine and body. A bottle of beer left open overnight on the counter, gone flat by morning, did not go to waste. Women poured it through freshly washed hair and let it sit for a few minutes before the final rinse. The yeasty smell was warm and faintly bitter. The liquid felt cool as it ran through the strands. When the hair dried, what remained was body. Weight. Movement. A kind of soft shine that made even plain hair look expensive. This is not a beauty parlor secret. It was kitchen chemistry. Malt, proteins, patience. A mother might leave the bottle on the counter Friday night, and her daughter would ask what it was for, and the answer was always the same. You'll see. Number 3. 100 brush strokes before bed. On the dressing table sat a real brush, not plastic, not flimsy, wood-backed, natural bristles, a handle worn smooth by the hand that used it every night. And the old rule was simple: 100 strokes before bed. Not tearing through tangles, not yanking. Slow strokes from scalp to ends, drawing the natural oils down the length of the hair where they were needed most. The scalp loosened. The hair smoothed. Static disappeared. By the 50th stroke, the whole room seemed quieter. There was a sound to it. Older women never forget. The low whisper of bristles through hair in a darkened bedroom after the children were asleep, counted under the breath. What looked like beauty maintenance was also rest, maybe the only 10 quiet minutes some women got all day. Today, women buy shine serums, detanglers, smoothing creams, and finishing oils that easily add up to $50 or more. In 1950, a good brush cost well under $1 and gave back years of service. Here is the second thing the industry replaced without ever saying so. It did not just replace old methods. It replaced old rhythms. These tricks forced a woman to stop moving, to sit still, to use her own hands, to notice what her hair was telling her. And in house after house, that stillness lived right beside a daughter watching closely from the edge of the bed. Number 2. The silk scarf sleep wrap. A woman who had spent time setting her hair did not surrender it to a rough pillowcase. She folded a silk or satin scarf into a triangle, laid it carefully over the curls, and tied it at the nape of her neck. The fabric made the softest whisper as it slid over the hair. In the morning it came off with one tug, and the set beneath it was still there. Protected from friction, flattened humidity, and a night of turning over in bed. It was such a small act, and yet it stretched a hairstyle by days. That is what made it valuable. The scarf itself might hang on a hook behind the bedroom door, faintly scented with face powder and hair lotion, ready to be tied on again at night. Today, silk bonnets and pillowcases can cost $30, even $60. In 1955, a scarf from Woolworths might cost 25 cents and saved hours of work all week long. Number 1. Pin curls set every single night. This was the queen of them all. Damp hair divided into neat sections, each piece wound around a finger, coiled flat against the scalp, and pinned into place with 2 crossed bobby pins. Row after row, a spray bottle nearby, a little setting lotion if needed, a scarf over the finished head, then bed. The work was repetitive, quiet, almost soothing once the hands knew it by heart, and by morning the sound began. The little metallic click of pins dropping into a porcelain dish one by one, the brush out, the shaping, the transformation of all those flat circles into soft curls and polished waves that would hold through the day and often through the week. No cord, no plug, no heat damage. Just hands, patience, and practice. Today, the average American woman now spends over $200 a year on heat styling tools alone. Her grandmother spent $2 a year on bobby pins and got better curls. But it is not the cost that matters most. It is the ritual,